Hello. Gosh, late. I'm telling you, one day this tech stuff will come easier to me. It just isn't, my friend. Oh, every time it seems like there's a different issue, but I'm here 8 minutes late, and that's okay because we are going to get to it. This week, we are going to talk about inflammation as it relates to anxiety, our mood, and how food contributes to that. So we've been building a really strong foundation. Each session that we've had so far has been building the foundation. And this week, the one that we're going to look at is one of the biggest hidden stressors in your body, and that is inflammation. So I think a lot of times people think that we have to be in pain to be inflamed. And yeah, if we're in pain, that can be inflammation, but anxiety, fatigue, brain fog, hormone symptoms, all of these can be signs of inflammation, which is why we're going to address this. So, inflammation is our body's alarm system. Now, I'm sure you've heard a lot about this on social media and online. It is one of those hot topics. And I think one of the reasons is it's very prevalent because of our lifestyle, because of our food system, and because of all the things we're exposed to. So, inflammation as our body's alarm system is meant to be short term. It's meant to be like we stub our toe tissue gets damaged, our body sends in the immune system, heals up that tissue temporarily, and then it goes away. But it tends to become chronic when we're getting it from our food or from stress or from the toxins that we're exposed to. And when it becomes chronic, it shows up as mood swings, anxiety or depression, it can show up as fatigue or brain fog. It can show up as weight gain, joint pain, sleep issues, hormone imbalances. So, some of those chronic symptoms that we just can't figure out why these keep happening, like why can we not get rid of these chronic symptoms that we have? Oftentimes, it is due to inflammation. But oftentimes, we are told it's just because we're getting older, or that's just hormones and that's just normal. This does not have to be a normal part of your life. So, certain foods or certain food groups tend to really fuel inflammation. And some of the biggest culprits are foods or food groups that are in almost our everyday foods. So, one is gluten. I know this is never a popular one when I talk about it. My clients often get really concerned when I bring up gluten and it feels restrictive. And what am I going to eat if I can't eat gluten? First of all, I promise you, you can eat if you're gluten free. My family's been gluten free since 2013 or 2012. And it was a challenge at first, but it is absolutely doable. I do have a how to go gluten free blog on my website. I will post the link to that under this video, make myself a note when this recording is done. So you can go and take a look at that. Gluten is found in all wheat products. So, wheat products, we're thinking of breads, crackers, pasta, baked goods. So, your muffins, cereals, really anything where flour is used. It's even hiding in things like cream soup, sometimes tomato soups that's used as a thickener, or sauces. It's in soy sauce. So, like tamari is a good gluten free replacement for soy sauce. All of that is discussed in the blog on my website, and like I said, I'll post that link after the recording is over. The next group that causes inflammation is industrial seed oils, and this can be one that is harder to avoid than gluten. Industrial seed oils are like canola, soybean, corn, sunflower, safflower. We find sunflower and safflower oils even in the foods that are like quote unquote healthy or organic foods. So canola and soybean, well, actually canola, soybean and corn oils tend to be left out of the foods that are considered healthy foods or that are in the health food aisle or that are organic. But we can find canola, sunflower, and safflower even in those foods that are organic. And we really do want to try to avoid those. The other is processed sugars, especially high fructose corn syrup. And this high fructose corn syrup or processed sugars tend to be found in sodas. Sodas is one of the biggest places, or really any sweetened drink where you're going to find high fructose corn syrup. Juices, flavored yogurts, condiments. Condiments are another big one. Ketchup is a big one for high fructose corn syrup, barbecue sauce, packaged snacks. So, the reason that these foods matter and the reason that they cause inflammation is because one, they can cause gut permeability, like leaky gut. If you've heard of leaky gut, gluten is one of the biggest culprits for causing leaky gut in our body. They can also spike our blood sugar, cause cortisol imbalances, which lead to mood swings and crashes. These foods, or these three foods, or food groups, or food, not food groups like vegetables, fruits, you know what I mean, categories of foods also fuel oxidative stress and insulin resistance. And oxidative stress is it's like pro-oxidation in our body. So the way that I explain this to my one-on-one clients when we can see oxidative stress happening in their body from lab results is if you live in Michigan or in the Midwest or, probably anywhere really, when our vehicles are exposed to a lot of salt from when it snows in the winter. And in Michigan, the salt trucks go by when it snows and or the roads are icy and they drop down salt on the road. And this helps to melt the ice. So when we drive over it, it kicks up salt on a road. And what does salt do to metal? It can cause it to rust. It causes pro-oxidation. So that rusty vehicle, that vehicle with rust on it, that pro-oxidation, that same type of thing happens inside of our body. And it can feel like joint pain and it can feel like brain fog and inflammation. Um, and then these foods can also directly impact brain chemistry and hormone signaling. Hormone signaling. By removing them, even if it's just temporarily, it does not take long. If we remove them, our body can calm down significantly because we've removed those inflammation triggers, right? And oftentimes, if you start looking at labels of the foods you're eating, a lot of people are eating these three foods or food categories at every meal. So 3 times a day plus snacks, they're getting one or all of these types of foods. So we can see how we could be so inflamed and have so many of these hormone and blood sugar issues. So removing these foods, it doesn't have to be forever and it doesn't have to be 100% forever, but it's interesting to do an experiment with this to see how our body feels. So some ideas for swapping. So instead of bread, if you're like, Nicole, I don't know how am I going to have my sandwich or how am I going to have, whatever you're eating bread on. If you're having burgers for dinner, like what am I going to do if I can't put my burger on a bun? There's things like lettuce wraps. So our family and what I recommend to my clients is we've switched to lettuce for a lot of things. We eat our burgers on lettuce. We'll eat sandwiches on lettuce, like turkey, like wraps, almost like on a piece of romaine lettuce. Siete tortillas are a type of tortilla that is they're made from almond cassava. There's three different ones. There's an almond flour one, a cassava flour one. I don't remember the third kind, but you can get these in the freezer section at Costco. Walmart used to carry them, but these are a high quality gluten-free wrap. Or you can even use something like potatoes or sweet potatoes. So oftentimes when we would have sloppy joes, we would have them on a bun. Well, you can use high quality avocado oil potato chips to scoop them with, or you can just have them like have sloppy joe on a potato. So there's ways you could be creative to swap bread out. Instead of cooking with canola oil or corn oil or vegetable oil, cook with butter, cook with ghee, which is clarified butter, avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil, or even tallow, beef tallow. And then instead of like soda or other things that contain processed sugar, so for sodas, swapping with sparkling water, like a LaCroix or a Waterloo or can't think of all the other names that they have, the Spindrift. And then you can take those and you can add, I like to add a splash of kombucha to them, or you can add fruit. Some people like to muddle fruit and add their sparkling water to muddled fruit. There's stevia sweetened options for soda, so Zevia. If you're local to Escanaba, Gladstone area, Healthway, the health food store carries Zevia. I actually think Walmart, Meijer, and Elmer's all also carry Zevia. And if you're not in the local area, you can definitely find these, I would imagine, in some of your chain grocery stores, if there are any near you. And then for sweeteners, swapping out that white sugar with something like honey, raw honey, ideally, maple syrup. These are nutritive sweeteners that don't spike the blood sugar quite as much as the others. Label reading is going to be important for this. So checking your salad dressings. Salad dressings are one of the biggest culprits for the industrial seed oils. It's going to be the first ingredient on that label. Chips, any type of chip is typically cooked in an industrial seed oil. Boulder Canyon is a brand that makes avocado oil potato chips. They also have olive oil potato chips, but I prefer the avocado because olive oil doesn't do as well in high temps, and obviously they're deep frying these chips. Crackers are going to be a big gluten containing, also potentially seed oil containing. Simple Mills is a good gluten-free, actually grain-free cracker brand that my clients tend to like. Coffee creamers. So if you like the International Delight or the Starbucks coffee creamers or any of those coffee creamers in the store aisle, this is going to be a big one for the processed sweeteners. And the biggest thing, so if we go back to our very first session together where we talked about eating within 30 minutes of waking. That was our first or second session, but eating a meal containing 30 grams, 25, 30 grams of protein within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. If we're having that coffee with that creamer that is loaded with sugar before we do this, we are setting up our whole day for blood sugar roller coaster, which is definitely going to trigger inflammation. So coffee creamers they tend to be a, um, a big driver of inflammation. There's a coffee creamer called Nut Pod that is unsweetened. You can get unsweetened Nut Pod and then sweeten with a little bit of maple syrup or honey. I still would recommend doing this after your breakfast, not before, not on an empty stomach. Okay, continuing on. Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is the primary ingredient in mayonnaise is oil. And if it's not going to be an avocado oil, it's going to be soybean oil. Even like the Hellman's mayonnaise that says it's olive oil, the first ingredient is soybean oil. It just contains olive oil. So we want to avoid that. Chosen Foods and Primal Kitchen have a great avocado oil mayonnaise. There's probably other brands too, but those are the two that we tend to use. Condiments, any condiment, barbecue sauce, like I already mentioned, salad dressings, stir fry sauces. Read the labels on all of these and start to slowly like implement or swap them out for better options. And like I mentioned already, beverages. Beverages are going to be another driver of processed sugars if you're not reading those labels. So once we start to calm down that inflammatory fire, our body knows what to do to heal. Our body wants to calm down that inflammation. So um, starting to eliminate these foods, slowly reduce them, eliminate them. It doesn't have to be 100%. It doesn't have to be always, but like if we can work on an 80-20, I usually try to have my clients work on 80-20. 80% of the time we're doing health building things. 20% of the time we're just being real humans who aren't worrying about every ingredient in their food. So uh, your action step for this week is going to be potentially challenging compared to the other week. So I'm going to challenge you for 5 consecutive days this week, or 5 consecutive days between now and the next time we meet. So the next 2 weeks, to eliminate gluten, to eliminate seed oils, and to eliminate processed sugar, especially high fructose corn syrup, but processed sugar. And then keep a journal. How do you feel? Do you notice any changes in mood, in digestion, in energy, or in sleep? And then come and let us know about it in the group. I will be posting in the group again, like I've been doing, posts for you to interact, asking questions. I would love your feedback. Sometimes what people notice though is when they remove sugar and gluten from their diet, they have a little bit of withdrawal feelings. So if you start to feel bad before you start to feel good, just know that's a normal part of the process and see it through and see how different you start to feel after time. Um, I will post, like I'd said a couple of times, I will post the link to the blog post below this video. And I will, if you have any questions, like if this is making your head swirl, like what am I going to eat or drink if I can't have X, Y, Z? Ask in the comments. I'll help you find good swaps. Okay. I know you guys can do this. Let me know if you have any questions and please interact in the group so we can see how everybody's doing. Have a great day.